Hey everyone, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Celeste.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad that you guys decided to join us. Today we're going to let you in on a little girlfriend chat that we usually have following one of our favorite shows. We thought it would be fun to just film as we discuss one of the shows that we've been watching and yelling at the TV
Every week,
called
married at first sight.
Married at First Sight. Yes. So
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with the show, it is about some young adults, and they go from city to city who have decided that they have not done the best in finding love on their own. So they leave it up to a panel of experts
Mm-hmm.
to do a series of questions and assessments and find them the perfect match that they then meet at the altar on their wedding day. And then the show continues to cover the wedding, the honeymoon, and the 90 days until the day that they have decision day, where they decide if they're going to stay married
Or
and
get a
or
divorce.
divorce, or annul in some cases. That's a whole nother story. So, Celeste, what do you think we should start with? Who should we start with today?
We can start with the current season, just in case there's others that are watching and are up on the current season, but may not have started way back when it started back in season
Like me.
one.
Yeah, I didn't
Right,
start with season.
exactly.
Yeah.
And talk about the 5 couples that are currently on.
Mhm.
We have 5 beautiful couples that are currently on the show. In my personal opinion, I think that there's going to be 2 that make it, 1 couple that definitely won't make it, and then there's other 2 on the fence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what we do, guys. We
So right,
basically each week we like, okay,
right,
they're gonna make it, they're not gonna make it, they're
right,
gonna make it, they're not gonna make
right.
it. And so if I had to pick at this current point in the season, I
Mhm.
think we're about mid-season now.
Yeah,
I would say for sure, 100%, Bennett and Amelia, who
yeah.
Bennett and Amelia are like a quirky, very eccentric,
Freestyle.
free-spirited couple.
Hmm.
I find them extremely refreshing. I find them fun to watch. They are unapologetically who
Yes,
they are.
yes.
They're so authentic, and there's something just freeing about watching them just be who they are. And so I love them, and I think the judges did a perfect job with matching them up. And I really pray that they make it, because I think they're perfect
Yeah,
for one another.
they're my pick as
Um,
well.
yeah. And then my second pick would be Amani and Woody. Amani and Woody are a couple that seem to have just a magical chemistry.
Hmm.
Woody's very charismatic. Amani is very down to earth, kind of like your sister friend. You feel like you've known her forever. And just a really good match where they just have a flow of communication, which to me is important in a relationship. They have a level of comfort where they've been just very vulnerable and forthcoming with telling how they're feeling, how they're not feeling. And it's just been a pleasure to watch their little love story evolve. And so if you're watching this before, I'm going to let Celeste go. Also, just be aware that this is actually a real marriage, because after the season, these couples then tend to open up their social media pages, and you can see, like previous seasons, some of these couples are still together, they're married, they have homes, they have children. So this is a real wedding. This is not like a for TV only type of
Right.
situation. Yeah. So Celeste, who are your favorites right now this season, and why?
Um, well, when I say favorites would be a little bit, I don't I don't necessarily have favorites per se, but I do see the couples that I make it. But I want to talk a little bit about one of the couples, Miles and
Oh,
um,
Karen.
Karen. Um, and what I find interesting is that I know that everybody, one of the things you walk into any relationship is you walk into them with yourself. Doesn't matter if you with this person, that person. Every time you go into a relationship, you go in with you. So you
Mm-hmm.
bring you into the room. And I think that the couples, or no, I'm talking about the specific couple. So Karen and Miles. I think Karen's issues stem from past hurts and past disappointments that she's had.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, if they're not dealt with, or if they're not worked on
Healed.
personally, healed, or acknowledged, or whatever it is that you want to call it, or whatever. But she's walking into this relationship and she's bringing it right to this guy. Like, he's great, he's trying his best to be whatever it is that she needs him to be. He's trying overtime, he's working overtime, and she's steadily in her own cocoon of issues. And I think that that's so problematic for relationships, because the show deals with them as a couple sometimes, and maybe there's some during the assessment or the one-on-one time, they group them and they talk with them and they work with them as a couple. But I like how they do that, but I think they need some individual work. I think because the individual is actually who's brought to the table, who's possessing these issues and problems. So I don't know if Miles and Karen are going to make it, because the last episode, he's married, right? They're married. And he puts on the calendar something like,
have sex with my wife.
I'm going to have sex with my wife. And oh my gosh, she was like, that is horrible. How could you say that? I think this is a deal breaker. She was just like very emotional, it was a big problem. Like, she didn't know if she can recover from it. Like
didn't come home.
Really? Yeah.
And she left. She felt unsafe with him.
And that stems from, to me, some unpacked baggage that she has and she needs to deal with. Okay. And then there's another couple on.
Wait, before you move on from Karen.
Okay.
Let me just say, I agree with you 100%. And I think Karen possibly, because I'm not an expert, right, but is doing some self-sabotaging, because it doesn't matter what Miles says each week, what he does. And he appears to be, he's one of the type of people that to a neglect of himself is in a relationship to make the other person happy. Right. So that's a whole nother story.
That's not healthy.
Exactly.
Either.
And she finds a problem with him every single week. He's too emotional. He's not masculine enough. He's not really being who he is. This week she wasn't. And I'm just like, Karen, really?
Why do you think women self-sabotage in relationships?
Well, Karen did say in the beginning of the show that she was hurt, so hurt from her last relationship. This man cheated on her, had a whole nother kid, and da-da-da-da-da. And like we said, sometimes when you don't heal from stuff, you're so afraid of getting hurt that you kind of mess it up yourself, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, I think. I don't really know why women, I don't know, I won't just say women, why people self-sabotage in relationships. But I do feel like that's what she's doing. And I also feel like, sadly, she's maybe not ready for the process.
I was going to ask you, do you think she's ready for love?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, and then the beautiful thing about life and timing and the way things work is, I truly sometimes believe that there is someone for everyone.
Yeah.
So he may be the man who can wait this out with her and love her through it. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. Sometimes we can really just drag a person till they're like, I can't do this with you.
Then there's that someone else.
You need to unpack that, possibly.
Yeah.
But we also have to do the healing. And I don't know, Karen, I'm over her. I'm so mad at her. Yeah. Not mad at her, but I'm just like, are you even trying? Why are you here?
Right.
Like, because at some point in our lives, I think in relationships, if what you've done has gotten you the same result, maybe you need to try something different. You know what I mean? And so
maybe somebody needs to point that out to her, because maybe it's so easy for her to continue to do what she's always been doing and she doesn't see it.
She seems very guarded and she seems very unsure of herself. Like, so prayerfully she can figure it out. He seems like a good guy. I hope he's not a jerk. He really seems like a good guy. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So that's one. And there's another couple on there. There's I have to remember his name right now. It slips me. The guy where he doesn't seem like, and you'll probably remember his name. he doesn't seem like he's interested in anything she does. He's the guy where, and the girl, the couple that,
Brett and Olivia.
Yeah, Brett and Olivia. And it's funny because, you know, even in the beginning, because we were like mid-season, and they were talking about finances, right? And she said she wanted to spend her money, see the world, vacation, whatever. And he was just like, "Oh, well, you don't know how to save your money." Like, he had negative, everything she said, he had something negative to say about it. And he didn't seem like he's ready to bend. You know,
I felt the same. I felt that way about her.
What, that she wasn't ready to bend?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because I feel like she came into it. So for those of you who don't watch the show, Olivia makes a significant larger amount of money than Brett. She makes a lot more money. However, she also has disclosed that she spends a lot. She doesn't know how to follow a budget. She travels and does what she wants, and she figures it out later. And Brett, on the other hand, makes a very modest living from what it seems. But he owns a home. He's a little bit more frugal. He cuts back on some things so that he can, maintain a home and bills and that.
I think, to be
they
honest,
approach finances just differently. Go ahead.
Right, but I think that he has issues with her making more money.
Possibly.
She doesn't throw it. She doesn't throw it around.
No, but she's on some. Well, I like to travel, so you need to keep me traveling and doing the things that I used to do. Okay, but I'm not spending my money. You need to figure it out.
All right. What? So you meet a guy. You're used to 5-star hotels. 4 or 5.
Yeah.
He can only give you 1 or 2. Right?
Nah.
Right. No, I'm just saying. He can only give you 1 or 2. He's saying he can only give you 1 or 2. So do you say, I want 4 or 5, and you're going to pay for it, and you know he doesn't have it?
No, you can't say that. You can't. Here's the thing. So
did you lower your lifestyle? Should you lower?
No, but you got to be willing to say, okay, Olivia, for real, Celeste, if you come into a relationship and you love 4 or 5-star hotels, you've been paying for your own 4 to 5-star hotels prior to meeting this person.
Correct.
How is it that you meet him and all of a sudden you can't pay for it anymore and you expect him to? Can y'all pull it together? Maybe he is unable to afford it. Okay, so that's like setting him up.
Okay, so when she said, and I'm not going to pay for it, meaning she's going to keep her money separate? Is that what she was saying?
That's what I got. She had a real problem with him saying that he couldn't afford it.
But he automatically said, well, I'm not going to. He has
some issues with the finances. Yeah,
he had some standoffish, like, well, I can't do it, so I'm not going. You know what I mean?
They seem to have a big problem with communication.
Yes.
Brett seems to go to a real jerk mode when delicate conversations come up. And I don't know if that's his defense mechanism, but it hasn't been productive for them. I don't know about those two. They would get a thumbs down from me. Like, I totally don't think they're going to make it. Yeah.
Right. How important do you think communication
is
in a relationship? How important is the communication in a relationship?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. And what I found is that, not what I found, I kind of known this all along, but men and women just speak different languages.
Yeah.
We have a very different way of communicating. We're very emotional beings. And this is a generalization, so I'm sure there's some women who are exception, and there's some, but men tend to be black and white, bottom line, how can we fix it? Let's get to a solution. And we're all about the feels and, So it's a dance sometimes. You have to really learn your partner. You have to learn when to breach certain conversations, when not, and those triggers that you may say, or the way you may say things, to maybe pull that back a little bit. And so communication, because the topics of sex, money,
right,
where we're going to live, how many children we're going to have. These are the things that we see come up in these shows. And I think it's actually the couples who can communicate effectively that can navigate it a little bit better versus the ones who really have a hard time communicating and hearing one another and come into compromise. And compromise is a big thing, I feel. But I'm no expert.
Right, I'm no expert either. But I do know that since this is a marital show, there is much compromising that happens in marriage. So, you know, that's like they're walking to the altar, boom, the next day they have to learn that
Yes.
very quickly. And it's already a bit of a learning experience, a learning curve for most people in a regular relationship. So they're meeting each other at the altar. The next day they're learning to compromise, communicate, all that at one time. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit of pressure as well, but it meets for a good talking.
Yes, I agree.
You
I
know,
agree. So we could talk about this topic actually all night if you guys
right.
haven't figured it out. So before we continue, just comment below. Tell us who your favorite couple is. Do you watch Married at First Sight? Do you have a favorite season, a favorite city? Who's your
Yeah.
favorite couple? Who's your least favorite couple? We would love to hear from you guys and continue the conversation in the comments section. So Celeste, who else did you want to discuss? Who's one of your least favorite couples?
They would be one of my least favorite couples,
They
actually.
would be.
Most favorite couple is a couple back from season 1. And when I say most favorite, they weren't a favorite, you know, but I like how their relationship blossomed. Okay. It was on the wedding day. They met each other like the show shows. They met each other for the first time. They went through the ceremony, but right after the ceremony, right into the reception, the young lady walked away and started boohoo crying. She was not happy with who the experts picked for her. And
Oh,
it
I
was
didn't see that.
more of an attraction thing because she didn't know him, right? So it had to be like a physical attraction. So she was not attracted to him. And to be honest, he was not that attractive. But later on, as you watch the seasons and as you watch the show, their relationship blossomed. And they're still together now. They've been married since the season 1. They have 2 beautiful children. They've moved on. And they also talk about their relationship, the fact that they realized later why the experts picked them, because they picked them for what they genuinely had on the inside, not necessarily on the outside. And so she, you know, walking down the aisle, wanted to see Prince Charming, I guess, you know, whatever. And she was like, yeah, I picked him. And it took her a little bit of a minute to even let her touch her.
Wow.
Like they said kiss, she would give the cheek or her hand.
Oh my.
You know, yeah, it was tough in the beginning. And I said she cried. She
He
cried
loved
when
the
she met him.
he stuck in there though.
Yeah, he's stuck in there, and that's great. But I like how their relationship blossomed, and it also showed that physical attraction is important. Chemistry is important. But they did not have a physical attraction, and it grew.
Mm-hmm.
And so their love story, I love their love story.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
One of the couples that sticks out to me always, and I love to talk about her. So Celeste and I, if you are not familiar with our friendship, we met in church. We grew up in church. And so, you know, the whole premise of waiting until you're married, saving yourself, maintaining your virginity until you give it to your husband is what you are taught in a Christian faith. And so we all know in this day and age that that is not an easy feat. That is not an easy task to do. And so one of the young ladies, and also I would even go as far as saying, being on this show and having your life and your marriage and all of that documented, I would imagine is very draining and
Right.
not the easiest thing to do. However, you know that when you sign up for the show.
Correct.
Okay. It's not a surprise. No one's like surprising you. You're going to be unmarried.
Right.
You know that when you sign up for the show. So this particular young lady I think it was in the Philly city,
Yes.
Iris, was a virgin. No, I shouldn't say like this. She was a virgin, but I say like this because she talked about it over and over and over. Like she led with that. That was her identity. And I get being proud that you've accomplished that at 30 something years old.
Yes.
However, it just became what she led with. And not only was she a virgin, but I would venture to say she was also very emotionally immature. So her husband, who was a darling and really tried to be patient with her, you know, Keith, he was trying to love her through, you know, the experts would give them exercises where she'd have to read a card and maybe kiss each other or give a massage. And she's like, like a 9-year-old girl. Like, I can't do that. Oh my God, Oh, Iris.
I think that he worked overtime, and he was very sensitive to her needs in the sense that he did not want to prematurely do anything that was going
That she was going to regret and blame him for later. Yes, I agree with that.
So he made very careful decisions as to saying when she's ready, which is respectful. Even though they were married, it's still respectful. And to say that I'm not going to push her to do anything that she didn't want to do or was ready for. And but it's like she threw that up to
every
him
second,
all the time.
Yeah.
And even when he just wanted to talk it through
about it,
she became very squeamish.
And interestingly enough, when I look at blogs and different social media platforms to this day, they drag him. He gets dragged for being impatient because he couldn't wait, and she's
because at the end
he chose to end the marriage,
right?
And she chose to stay in the marriage,
right?
But I think it was bigger than the sex for him, which she couldn't get past in here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more how she was approaching the conversation of sex and how she was approaching just the emotion, the intimacy. Here's the word. How she was approaching intimacy. Yeah, it was just like, you're not ready. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, Keith gets dragged a lot, and Iris is the hero in the story, and everyone, which I commends her for taking her stand. And you got married, though. You did.
Yes.
Got married. So at that point, you can have sex with your husband. I don't know.
I'm
a little confused.
And I'm gonna challenge that thought. Even though you're married, and she may not have been ready, right? That's fine too. He can still take his time with her and still work through the relationship to get her where she was comfortable, which is fine. But I think them dragging him is because he decided not to marry her, and they nailed it all on it being whether she was going to have sex with him or not. And that really wasn't why he did what he did. And he still cared for her. He still, he was respectful of her and everything. But I also find a little bit something strange about her. There are some scenes in there where she was very sensual. Mm-hmm. Okay. They had a dancing. So I think the experts had suggested that they go dancing together or do a dance. And it was very close body dancing. She was very sensual with him. And I think a lot of times she gave him mixed signals. Mm-hmm. And, it was almost like, as you said, immature, kind of like playing games. Mm-hmm. And so first of all, marriage ain't for kids.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Talk about it.
Not that I'm an expert.
Because we're not experts.
Wait, the disclaimer is we are not experts at all.
No, we're not.
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, we don't hold no degrees in it. We're not counselors. We're not therapists. We know
how they need to get their lives together. I can tell you how these folks. No, I'm just kidding.
So we're not experts in this, but I can tell you this: marriage is not for kids. It's not a game, right? So they enter in with all kinds of preconceived ideas and stuff like that, which is fine because I'm sure everybody does to some degree. But she wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. I don't think.
Would you marry a stranger? Would you marry a stranger? Would you consider going on the show?
Okay, so here's the thing. I would definitely go on the show. Yes and no. Let me tell you what the yes is. Yes, I would let the experts pick. They would have to also loop in maybe somebody that I know close to answer to ask a few questions about me.
I think they do.
Okay, let's say okay. But the problem that I have is the cameras. The cameras all day long, every day, all day. Because I'm already a private person. So that would be a strain for me. Because I don't think that I can.
So you wouldn't go on the show? because that's a part of it. Don't be a Brandon. Brandon was a person who went on the show and then got mad at the cameras for following him.
Okay.
And yelled at the production and was very difficult. Why go on the show? I think we'd all like an expert to magically make Mr. or Mrs. Right appear.
There's not a Mr. or Mrs. Right.
Well,
I don't think
almost
so.
right.
Right. I think that there's that person
on paper, right?
Right. I think that there's that person that you fall in love with.
Because sometimes they really get it wrong, those experts, in my opinion.
Well, they only going by what you tell them, and sometimes that could be a little bit of the challenge too.
As well.
Identifying what you really want and what you don't want, or whatever. But you know, so maybe I wouldn't go on the show. Okay, so maybe I wouldn't go because that is a part of the process, is the cameras and every day in your personal life and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't. I guess I wouldn't. Yeah.
How about you guys? Those of you who are watching, would you marry a stranger? Would you be willing, if Married at First Sight came to your city, would you consider actually going through the process? Right. Comment below and let us know. If you'd like to see more videos like this with me and Celeste, just hamming it up, talking about random things. Go ahead.
Random. I got a question for you though, before you wrap it all up. All right. So I don't know how many shows or seasons you've watched, but in any of the seasons and any of the couples, what do you see yourself?
In which couple do I identify myself?
Yeah, any couple.
I probably see myself, and she just popped in my head, don't know why, the most in maybe Deanna.
Okay.
And Deanna and Greg are still married.
Yay! Having a baby.
She was someone who, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she had a relationship that went not so good. And then she had like a 10-year no dating span where she just traveled. And so I can kind of identify with that. She came into her marriage willing and open, but a little guarded, a little afraid, a little reserved. And Greg just kind of loved her through it.
Yes, he did.
It kind of reminds me of me and my boo. Now,
y'all want me to bring a camera to your house?
No.
At the show.
But if I had to identify with anyone, I mean, not identically, but, you know, I can relate to Deanna.
Okay.
Yes. So, guys, Celeste, did you have anything else?
No, that was my question for today. That was my question.
Make sure, if you're not following our channel, that you like I said, like this video, and also hit the subscribe bell so that you can see future videos with Chats with my Chica. We hope to see you all soon. Be wealthy, be healthy, and stay beautiful, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.